that's what will drive you to being that person.
So the big question is, what are top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? To get the answers, we interview top real estate agents to learn their secrets to success. Listen, we believe every agent should make a minimum of $100,000 per year, and we're on a mission to make this happen. We've already helped over 100 agents achieve this with our coaching. So if you want to fast track your business growth, get to your first $100,000 in GCI or add another $100,000 in GCI using social strategies, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com, or you can just click the link in the description below. Also, just make sure to follow us, hit that subscribe button, and if you get any value from this at all, please tell a friend and leave us a review. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets Show. Today we've got Amanda Schroeder with us. She's been in real estate for 8 years. She's got 123 clients closed in 2021. 93 of those units were done by herself. She's growing a team, and 88% of her clients are from repeat, referral, and sphere business. And she services Wisconsin. She's also a coach for her KW office, helping agents in her office crush it. Amanda, it's a pleasure to have you on. 93 units is no joke. Making some bread out in Wisconsin. I think you might be the first agent we've had in Wisconsin. So you are you're taking a claim to fame there on the Elite Agent Secrets Show. So it's a pleasure to have you on. How are you doing?
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, Southeast Wisconsin doesn't always end up on the map, but there's plenty of real estate business to be had here.
Funny everywhere, isn't there? This is the thing. It's like everyone's just wondering, like, oh, we're running out of business. Like, no, you're not. You ain't finding the damn business. But no. Take us back. The way we love to start is context. Take us back 8 years. Why the hell did you get into this industry? You know, there's so many other choices. You could have made a smart decision and done something else. But all of us stupidly got into real estate and we're stuck here now making money. So why did you get in?
It's the best. It is the best. I don't know if I knew that when I started. Yeah. I was a teacher, and then I worked in fine dining restaurants, managing restaurants for years. Got out of that, had no idea what I was going to do next. And this for real fell from the sky. I have had real estate around me my whole life. I come from a line of entrepreneurs, so it was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point. And I just sort of came up with it one day. And my husband was like, "You've never talked about this." I said, "You know what? I just think it would be a good fit for my skill set. I love Milwaukee. I love connecting with people, helping them achieve their dreams. This seems to make so much sense." So I shopped it around to friends and family, and everybody said, "Amanda, you are made for this. This will be great." And they were right. So it's been a total blast. And it's amazing how much your life can change in 5 years and, beyond. It's just beyond my wildest dreams where I am today. I never thought this is where it would lead. And after grinding it out in service industry for years and then working crazy hours and coming into this, I was like, oh my God, this is a dream. And it's just been awesome.
Awesome ever since.
So you still get to work the crazy hours, but now the pay is different to compensate you for the crazy hours. But I know it didn't start. Yeah, I know it didn't start out that way, right?
The hours were always less than I worked in restaurants, but I ran a big restaurant. So I started in this business. There were some experienced, seasoned agents in my office, and they were like, "Oh, honey, you're going to work weekends and nights." And I said, I'm used to 70, 75 hours a week. This is nothing. And I've had more time outside of work than I have in years in this business, but it has taken some real soul searching and boundary setting and team building to get me to the point where I feel more balanced. Because I'm not going to lie, I have burned out in this business. And I think it's good for people to know, like, it takes a grind those first couple of years to establish yourself and then be really intentional with your time. And you don't have to go through, I went through about 4 years grinding it out by myself before my assistant went full time. And then my production doubled. It went from 45 to 75 sales in, the matter of a year. And before that, I was stuck at 45 for 3 years, managing up to 15 under contract at one time. It was just too much. So if you can figure it out by learning from my mistakes, save yourself the time and figure out how to do it and get that work-life counterbalance, because it's possible. It is.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing here. It's like, let's learn from all the top producers' mistakes and let's figure out that, this is the thing that we love to like demolish this belief that all these top producing realtors, no matter where they are in the country, have like just had it easy. It's like, I reckon 9 or 9.5 out of 10 of everyone we've ever spoken to had it just like awful, but they just stuck with it. They just were like, I'm just going to stick with this. And like, this is the thing, I can do it. And so when it comes to your first year, how many deals did you do? Do you remember?
12.
12. And what did you do second?
32.
Oh, so you had a big jump between 1 and 2. And then 45 and then 45 for like 3 years.
Yep. And then 75 and then 123.
What was the difference between year 1 and year 2, other than you knowing the business, where you went from 12 to 35 plus?
Yeah. It's so funny because if I could go back and do it, I was intentional to an extent, but I would have been even more so. I really started, I had a coach basically. She was my mentor, my manager in my office. She offered to meet with people for free. And I was like, why the heck wouldn't you, right? Like, what a resource. And so I was one of very few people in my office who met with her every week. And that accountability, that structure of goal setting, and then that push I needed to get my systems in place so I could be highly efficient. And I love systems. So I think that was a big piece of it. And honestly, I just hunkered down. I'm such a workhorse. I was just going. And by the end of the year, I came up for air and I was like, oh my God, 32. Holy crap. So it was a combination of being conscious about it and also just like hustling. Yeah. But I think that year was when I really started to establish what I needed to be extremely efficient, because as one person helping that many people with a really high level of service required me to be that much on top of it. Also, most of my clients were buyers, so I was running.
Has that switched over the last couple of years?
I am still more heavier to buyers versus listings, but that has slowly changed over time, especially for me personally last year. And my goals this year are more listings than buyers, and actually scaling back. So this year I'm aiming for 55 sales instead of 95. So I have time to touch base with all of our clients, working with my other 2 agents on the team, overseeing how things are going on the team and coaching everybody on my team. We have one-on-ones every week. And then I'm also coaching agents in our office. So that fills me up, and that's holding me accountable, makes us all better agents. And that means we're taking better care of our clients. And that's really what it's about.
You know, you're the first person that has come on the show and said, I'm going to put other agents first. Maybe in a way, where I'm going is you're the first agent, was my initial thought, where you said, I'm scaling back from doing 95 to 55. And then I should have said what I said first, because you want to help the agents, which one of the very first things that you've also said is you were looking for that counterbalance and what that balance looked for you. Mm-hmm. So why the big change? What is the shift where last year was your highest year and now you're like, swerve, don't want to do this. Here's what I want to focus on. So I can focus on helping my teams and also just doing 55 deals instead.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it is incredibly rewarding to help other people realize their potential in this business. I mean, it is awesome. And seeing people who really have those abilities in them kind of come to light and build their confidence and see how much they can support their dreams financially is the best. So that's been extremely rewarding and very motivating. You know, years of doing this on my own and burning out a little bit here and there, definitely more than once a year. There's got to be a bigger why than just making money. So that's really my motivation now. And through them, I'm taking better care of our clients. And that's, our next priority. If I take great care of my agents, they take great care of our clients. And that's top priority. Also, my goals are different, and having a clearer idea of what my goals are for my life and not just my business gives me a very clear perspective on how I should be spending my time, where I should be putting my energy. And then I'm getting the results that I'm aiming for instead of just catching clients as they come at me, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And at the end of the year, I'm like, oh shit, I'm exhausted. What just happened? It's being intentional in the moment with that goal in mind. And that's what I'm going for. Quality of life at this point is higher priority than income.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of people that are starting to want to basically have more of a work-life balance. And a big part of that is what you're doing now, which is growing a team. So it's just leveraging your time now. It's like, hey, yes, I'm going to grow a team and they're going to, I'm obviously going to lose a little bit more and get a smaller commission cut, however you've broken that down. But then again, I don't have to be there anymore. That's how I now leverage myself to the future, which is everyone I think gets into the industry. They might want to be a huge producing solo agent. We've met plenty now and they're phenomenal agents, but they get to a point where they're like, I need leverage. I need to do something else. And they tend to go two ways, taking the money and investing it, buying, whether it's portfolios, whether it's stocks, whatever, it could be anything. And the other one is building a team. So they get their time back. And it's like the two ways that, people who've produced for a long time, done very well for themselves go, actually, I'd like time. Time is more important than the money aspect. But, the money, it's kind of one of these things, it comes with time. So you grow a team and you lose, and then you might 3 years later be, actually, I'm now earning more than I was as a high producing solo agent, and I've got more time. Yeah. So it's like, it's a lost leader, right?
It's harder before it gets easier, right? You got to train them. You got to set them up for success. You got to hire slow, pick the right people. And truly, no successful person gets there by themselves. Everybody has help. And I think it's so easy to forget that. You think of the iceberg picture where it's like you only see the tip. So you see the production, you see the money, but you don't see all the stuff that goes into that underneath. And that is that building a team, getting your systems in place, figuring out where you need help, deciding what your most important and the things that really light you up are, and then leveraging out the rest of it. And that's something anybody can do. Even if you are technically an independent agent, there are resources there. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a system, a program, something like that. And truth be told, I'm scaling back this year, but our GCI should be the same as it was last year. So I'm still seeing the income. It's just not my top priority, because if I pour into my people, the money will come
later. One of my questions, like a top tip, I know this isn't one of your topics, but I know this is something that a lot of people like to know about. You mentioned the recruiting aspect. This is something that people do struggle with. Do you have any kind of top tips with regards finding people, or the certain types of people you'd look for that have worked out for you? Because even though this isn't kind of what we're going through today, I know we've discussed this a lot and people have different strategies. We've heard some great ones. And what have you found to be successful for recruiting and finding people?
Yeah. So a few things. One, when it comes to agents, I find that people who are newer, like maybe a year in the business, or brand new, are who I prefer to work with, because I specialize in training and education. It's my background. It's what I do. I've been a leader and a manager for a long time. So that's something I can handle without exerting tons of energy. And I can get them set up on our systems and the philosophy behind what we do as a team, get them on board to buy in, and then they grow through us. I think that works really well. Another thing I'd say is especially if you're an independent agent and you can't afford to pay an assistant who's licensed to help you with showings, things like that, test out an agent in your office who's newer and just ask them to help you on occasion if you go on vacation, if you need help with showings, stuff like that. Take the time to walk them through a showing to show them how you do it, so that comes through with your client and they're getting that consistency of service. But then you can see, what is this experience like working with this person? Have them host an open house for you, that sort of thing, to kind of test them out. It's like a stage in the kitchen, right? Like you give them a little test drive, kind of see how they operate. decide if that's going to work for you. I also really believe in personality tests. I know they're not everything, but they can give you some insight you might not know otherwise. And they're a great conversation starter. So if you're interviewing somebody, using the DISC profile, or at Keller Williams, we have the KPA, it can be very insightful to some things that you might not catch until much further into having that person on your team, when you suddenly realize they're not a good fit, and you can proactively avoid some of that drama. Or you can talk through it with them and just say, I know this might be a challenge for you. Here's how things operate in the team. Do you think that's going to work? And you're at least getting that out in the open before they join.
It's when you come to me and you're like, we've never seen, is it a D, which is is it dominance or whatever?
Yeah.
And then I do the test and it's like, you're somehow off the chart. This is probably going to be a problem for growth. And I'm like, well, it depends who you want leading the team. Are you leading it or am I leading it?
Yeah.
That's how the interview goes. Now, it's interesting because some people, here's what I've learned with DISC profiles, Myers-Briggs, all this stuff. And this also goes to some pithy relationship quotes, which is opposites attract, all this bullshit. Right. I'm going to put this out there. They don't, in my opinion. You want to find people with similarities, but in business, it's usually the opposite. And you want to find people who do fill in your gaps. Mine and Peter's relationship is a perfect example of this. We like the shit the other one hates, basically. Yeah. Which is why, 2 years or however much long 2-3 years ago, we got into business together. It made sense, right? And the same goes for when we hire people. It's like, what are we weak at? Peter is literally trying to hire this woman at the moment because he's like, I hate doing this part of the transaction. It's like, I do it by fucking hating this woman is amazing. He's like, so I'm trying to hire her because she just loves this one bit of the transaction. And he's on the phone.
He's talking about my TC.
Nice.
He's like, I've got
She's
to try.
She's really good at that stuff.
Oh my gosh. Mine is too. We have similar values. We appreciate similar things. We did the DISC with my team recently, just like a review of it. Let's take it one more time and see where we stand. And everybody had some overlap, but everybody had a stronger piece that was a little bit different than somebody else's. So we're on the same page, but as far as, my transaction coordinator, who, got to be honest, runs the team, right? She's behind the scenes handling all the details. She is amazing at that. She is like the wizard of spreadsheets. And I love her for that. And she enjoys that repetitive stuff. And I don't. I am so ADD. I need to be out and about in front of people, flying around. And she would be much happier if nobody ever called her on the phone or needed her in person. So it works. But we're on the same page about what's important to us. And I at least know enough to know that what she does is super valuable. And I'm very vocal about that with everyone on my team, how they each contribute in their own way, and how it is important that we are a little different, right? Not just the admins, but the agents. We're going to get clients who are going to work better with one person versus the other. And why force it? Why should I work with somebody who's not a good fit for me? That's a ton of energy drained when I could just connect them with another agent on my team who is going to be a great fit for them, and it's going to energize them.
100. This is, in a weird way, I was kind of expecting something similar to this from you because obviously you've done a lot of volume and you're growing a team and you're a teacher. And this is what I guess I was hoping you would say as well. It's that I find people that we really bounce off each other. And it's not that we're not competitive and like playing, but we also play to each other's strengths. And I know that certain deals that person's just going to be better at, and vice versa. And there was this like mutual harmony amongst the team, which is how we've seen it work very well. It's like, listen, they're better at doing these leads. The client's going to have a better experience. We'll get more referrals. We'll do this, work out the deal, however that looks. The most important thing is the client gets a nice experience with, your team, with them personally, and that's how referrals grow, and you get 7x on that original purchase over the next decade through referrals, through buy and sells, through all that other shit. So we went off on a bit of a tangent on recruiting, but I was super interested in your input on that. Let's jump into your first topic, which is goal setting and time management. Real estate agents, don't switch off. because this is the shit that none of you are doing that you need to be fucking doing.
Yes. I'm going to make it attainable and not boring. So stay tuned. Okay. So first thing, this is something that didn't click for me until this year. I've heard it before, but I really didn't understand it until now. The someday goal, right? Like people talk about these like dream big, like think about where you'll be in 8 years, 20 years, like what does that look like? And it's like so far in the future that I'm like, how do I even imagine that? Also, all I have to do is look back 5 years and see where I am now. And it just makes me want to cry. It's so amazing. And so how can I even think about 20 years from now? So instead of thinking of it in terms of my production and, how much money I'm making, it's got to be something that I can really feel and visualize. And that's to think of, who am I at that point? How do I live my life? How do I spend my time? What are my values? What's my energy level like? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I, where am I contributing to my community? If I can picture that person, that is much more of a draw to me than just saying, here's my numbers in 20 years or 10 years or 5 years. And from that, I have learned how valuable it is to look to that Amanda in the future and say, anything I'm doing today, what would that Amanda of the future be doing with her time now? How would I approach this situation? Would I choose to put my time and energy into this thing, or would I leverage it out to a program or have a person help me? And that has been a game changer, to picture that future me down the line, and how, not only what that is in the future, but how is that person living her life and how is she running her business? Because it's going to get me there faster. And it's about the journey, right? It doesn't even matter if I get to whatever those numbers are in the future, because I'm going to be a better agent and I'm going to live a better life if I'm acting as that person now.
Right. Would you say with the goal setting, I think one of the questions from some of our listeners would be something along the lines of, that's great for you because you've now seen yourself 5 years down the line where you've made it, right? I've been struggling. I'm brand new, whichever scenario you'd like to take. And it's like, so the idea of seeing where I'm at in 5 years when I've just started, or I've been struggling for 5 years now, like just seems like an impossible task to me. How do you kind of coach them through showing that it is attainable? Because we know it's attainable. Everyone here, like all our guests, 100 plus, 150 plus, 200 episodes, whatever on now, like it's totally attainable to make a lot of money here. There's a lot of people doing it, and that's what we're doing here. We believe every agent should be a 6-figure agent.
Definitely.
So when you are coaching these newer agents or struggling agents, and they're just like, I just can't even imagine that, how do you tell them that, like, this is fucking possible, like you can do this?
It's true. You can. And I look at new agents every week who have those big eyes and are overwhelmed and love the idea of succeeding in real estate, but are scared and feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome and aren't quite sure where to start. And honestly, I give them the freedom to say, that person I want to be someday, that business I want to have someday, I can change it. So you don't have to etch it in stone for eternity. Like, just come up with something that's going to motivate you, and having a really strong why, really soul searching, really digging deep. That should be something that just hits you in the gut. It should make you tear up. It should fire up your soul. That's what will drive you to being that person. So if you're having a hard time picturing who you'll be, go to your why. I mean, it might be your kids. It might be how you can contribute to your community. It might be that you just got fired from a job, and screw all the people who worked there because they treated you like crap. Maybe I'm speaking from experience. And I wanted to tell everybody to take a hike my first year and show them that I could be successful without them trying to drag me down. And so the first year I was in business, it was a big F you to all the people who tried to keep me down. And that was my motivation. My second year, it changed, and that's okay. You can make that adjustment as you go. It's why it's important to take the time to, reflect on your year and think about what's upcoming, because it's going to change over time, and that's okay.
Yeah, pivoting is something that people don't think about enough. So I think it's not even just real estate, but there's this stigma where like if you change what your decision was, that you've somehow failed. I don't even know how to describe it, but it feels like there was this thing where it's like you're wanting to do something different or just slightly tweak something, and it's like, oh, well, that wasn't the plan. You've changed, blah blah blah. And you're like, there's nothing wrong with pivoting. Like that's why I'm a big goal person. Like, this again is another point of difference. Peter's like, I'm just going to go to fucking work. Like, no,
I'm like, Andrew, make the goals for me. Tell me what's required to do, and I'm just going to go and execute against it. I don't got time for this little shit.
Yeah, but basically the way I always do it, I do it for the pair of us. So it's like fucking husband and wife, I tell you. But I've got like, I do yearly goals. I do yearly goals, and then I break it down per quarter, what I want to hit on a quarter by quarter basis. And then I'll break that down into like micro segments. Like I say, daily tasks. We were discussing this before, where it's like, oh, you got to do 8 outreaches a day, and then you don't do 8, and then it's like a big problem. It's like, no, you're being too critical. It's like, just get your 1,000 in that month or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And you're on the path. 8 is just a guideline. It's the difference between leading and lagging indicators of success. Well, if we're looking at Amanda, you're going, right, you did 93 deals. Tell me how many you got under contract on a monthly, weekly basis. What did your timeline would look like? And then you can, everyone listening, you can go back and listen to all the other episodes as well. Like, success has left all the clues on the last 200 episodes you could ever want, right? So setting a goal. So let's talk about, I've got my goal, right? Let's say my goal is 100,000 in GCI. Let's just keep it round and simple. Okay. And let's say the average commission's 10,000, right? So I've got to sell 10 homes, is what I'm wanting to do. How are you then going about setting that goal? I know obviously it's like, okay, well, I need to do about 1 a month. Is there a certain action plan that you're thinking, okay, this is how I would break that down? Yes. These are the actions that I would take, so people listening can kind of get an understanding and they can fit it to their specific scenario.
Definitely. Well, and I think that it's like you're reading my notes, Andrew. So yes, breaking it down to, you've got that someday, and then you're looking at, okay, what can I do this year to get me closer to that someday? What can I do this quarter to get me closer to that year? What can I do this month to get me closer to that quarter? What can I do this week and today to get closer to that? And it's simple math to break it down. If you are new and you have no idea what your conversion rate is on leads and connecting with new people, just say 50% to start with. If you picture a funnel, right, the bottom of the funnel is your closings, your happy clients that are going to refer you later and you're going to keep in touch with and continue to grow your business with. But before that, you've got to get an accepted offer. Not every offer closes. Hopefully most of them do. And before that, you have to sign a listing contract or a buyer agency agreement. And that's probably more people than the ones that get accepted offers, especially in a market that's pretty tough for buyers. And before that, you've got to get their contact information to call them a contact or someone who's in your CRM or however you're tracking your contact info. And before that, it's got to be an initial meeting. So that big wide part of the top of the funnel is how many contacts do I have to make per, like you said, per day, per week, per month. And no, it doesn't all happen in a perfectly even spread out number of people per day or week. But if you are tracking what you're doing, which is an important key to goal setting, right? What's the point of setting a goal if it's not in front of you and you're not regularly checking your progress? There's no point. It's just a number that you probably forgot and we'll look at the end of the year. So having it in front of you, tracking your goals. I found I was so afraid to look and track my goals as I went along, especially in my first few years. But when I did it, I was almost always relieved. I felt better about my progress. I felt like I was making way bigger strides than I thought I was. And I think part of that is that success is boring thing. It's small steps. It's incremental moving towards your goal over time. And it gets to the point where it feels kind of boring and it feels like you're not making a lot of progress. And then you step back and look at where you are and where you were, and you realize that you're making strides exactly as you need to. And if you're not, you might be exceeding it. So adjust your goal. You need something motivating that's going to push you.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, it's that old, quote by Will Smith, and he's like, you don't go out to build a wall, you go out to lay each brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. Yes. And then all of a sudden you have a wall. And that sums it up. If everyone listening likes a pithy quote, there you go, check it out, it's Will Smith. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in gaining access to our course and coaching programs, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com.